Torah portion for 11 January 2025 is entitled Vayechi, translates and he lived. It covers Genesis 47:28 through chapter 50. The Haftorah portion is 1 Kings 2 verses 1 through 12. The apostolic portion is John 13, 1 through 19. Genesis 47:28 through 31. And Jacob lived in the land of Mitzrayim 17 years. So the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. And the time for Israel to die drew near. And he called his son Joseph and said to him, Now, if I have found favor in your eyes, please put your hand under my thigh and show kindness and truth to me. Please do not bury me in Mitzrayim, but I shall lie with my fathers, and you shall take me up out of Mitzrayim and bury me in their burial place. And he said, I do as you have said. And he said, Swear to me. And he swore to him, and Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed. Genesis 48. And after these events it came to be that it was said to Joseph, See, your father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Jacob was told, See, your son Joseph is coming to you. And Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, See, I am making you bear fruit, and shall increase you, and make of you an assembly of peoples, and give this land to your seed after you, as an everlasting possession. And now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Mitzrayim, before I came to you in Mitzrayim, are mine. As Reuben and Shimon, they are mine. Your offspring, whom you shall bring forth after them, are yours, and let them be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. And I, when I came from Padan, Rahel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. And Israel saw Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said to his father, These are my sons, whom Elohim has given to me in this place. And he said, Please bring them to me, and let me bless them. And the eyes of Israel were dim with age, and he was unable to see. And he drew them near to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I had not thought to see your face, but see, Elohim has also shown me your seed. So Joseph brought them from between his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took both them, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, consciously directing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and said, The Elohim before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzhak walked, the Elohim who has fed me all my life long to this day, the messenger who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the use, and let my name be called upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Yitzhak, and let them increase to a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it was evil in his eyes, and he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from the head of Ephraim to the head of Manasseh. And Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also becomes a people, and he also is great, and yet his younger brother is greater than he, and his seed is to become the completeness of the nations. And he blessed them on that day, saying, In you Yisrael shall bless, saying, Elohim makes you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. Then he put Ephraim before Manasseh. And Yisrael said to Joseph, See, I am dying, but Elohim shall be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. And I have given you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow. Genesis 49. And Jacob called his sons and said, Gather together, so that I declare to you what is to befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Yisrael your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my power, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of exaltation and the excellency of power. Boiling like water, you do not excel, because you went up to your father's bed. Then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Shimon and Levi are brothers. Their weapons are implements of violence. Let my being not enter their council. Let my esteem not be united to their assembly, because they slew a man in their displeasure, and they lamed an ox in pleasure. Cursed be their displeasure, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Yisrael. You, Yehuda, your brothers praise you. Your hand is on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children bow down before you. Yehuda is a lion's cub. From the prey you have gone up, my son. He bowed down, he crouched like a lion, and like a lion, who does rouse him? The scepter shall not turn aside from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him is the obedience of peoples. Binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his robes in the blood of the grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun dwells at the seashore. He is for a haven for ships, and his border is unto Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey, lying down between two burdens. And he saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant. And he inclined his shoulder to bear a burden, and became a subject to slave labor. Dan rightly rules his people as one of the tribes of Yisrael. Dan is a serpent by the way, an adder by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that its rider falls backwards. I have waited for your deliverance, O Yahovah. Gad, a raiding band, raids him, but he raids its heel. Bread from Asher is rich, and he gives delicacies of a sovereign. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He gives words of elegance. Joseph is an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree, an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree by a fountain. His branches run over a wall. And the archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Yisrael. From the El of your father who helps you, and by the Almighty who blesses you with the blessings of heavens above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors, up to the limit of the everlasting hills. They are on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separated from his brothers. Benjamin is a wolf that tears. In the morning he eats prey, and at night he divides the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them. He blessed each one according to his own blessing. And he commanded them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial site. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Yitzhak and Ribkah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field purchased, and the cave which it is in, from the sons of Heth. And when Jacob ended commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed, and breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Genesis 50. And Joseph fell on his father's face, and wept over him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Yisrael. And 40 days were completed for him, for so are completed the days of embalming. And the Mitzrites wept for him 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If, now, I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, See, I am dying. Bury me in the grave which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. And now, please, let me go up and bury my father and return. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father. And with him went all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Mitzrayim, and all the house of Joseph, and his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, and their flocks, and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan. And they lamented there with a great and very heavy lamentation. And he observed 7 days of mourning for his father. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning for the Mitzrites. That is why its name was called Abel Mitzrayim, which is beyond the Jordan. And his sons did to him as he had commanded them. For his sons brought him to the land of Canaan, and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial site. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Mitzrayim, he and his brothers and all who went up with him to bury his father. And when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph hates us, and pays us back all the evil which we did to him?" And they sent word to Joseph, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying, This is what you are to say to Joseph. I beg you, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin, for the evil they did to you. And now, please forgive the transgression of the servants of the Elohim of your father." And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, "See, we are your servants." And Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of Elohim? And you intended evil against me, but Elohim intended it for good, in order to do it as it is this day, to keep a great many people alive. And now do not fear, I provide for you and your little ones." So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. And Joseph dwelt in Mitzrayim, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation, the children of Machir, son of Manasseh, who were also brought up on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am dying, but Elohim shall certainly visit you, and bring you out of this land to the land which he swore to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Jacob." And Joseph bade the children of Israel swear, saying, "Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring up my bones from here." And Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was placed in a coffin in Mitzrayim. 1 Kings 2, 1 through 12. And the days of David drew near to die, and he commanded Shalomo his son, saying, "I am going the way of all the earth, and you shall be strong and be a man, and guard the charge of Jehovah your Elohim, to walk in his ways, to guard his laws, his commands, his right rulings, and his witnesses, as it is written in the Torah of Moshe, so that you do wisely all that you do, and wherever you turn, so that Jehovah does establish his word, which he spoke concerning me, saying, If your sons guard their way, to walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their being, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Israel. And also, you know what Joab son of Zeruiah did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the armies of Israel, to Abner son of Ner and Amasa son of Jether, that he slew them, and shed the blood of battle in peace, and put the blood of battle on his belt that was around his waist, and on his sandals that were on his feet. So act according to your wisdom, and do not let his gray hair go down to the grave in peace. But show kindness to the sons of Barzillai the Gileadite, and let them be among those who eat at your table. For so they came to me when I fled from Absalom your brother. And see, with you is Shimei son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahurim, who cursed me with a grievous cursing in the day when I went to Mahanaim. But he came down to meet me at the Jordan, and I swore to him by Jehovah, saying, I shall not put you to death with the sword. And now, do not leave him unpunished, for you are a wise man, and know what you should do to him, and shall bring his gray hair down to the grave with blood. And David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David. And the days that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. And Shlomo sat on the throne of his father David, and his reign was firmly established. John 13, 1 through 19. And before the festival of the Passover, Yeshua, knowing that his hour had come, that he should move out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper taking place, the devil had already put into the heart of Yehuda from Cariath, son of Shimon, to deliver him up. Yeshua, knowing that the Father had given all into his hands, and that he had come from Elohim and was going to Elohim, rose from supper and laid aside his garments, and having taken a towel, he girded himself. After that he put water into a basin, and began to wash the feet of the taught ones, and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. And so he came to Shimon Kepha, and said to him, Master, do you wash my feet? Yeshua answered and said to him, You do not know what I am doing now, but you shall know after this. Kepha said to him, By no means shall you wash my feet ever. Yeshua answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Shimon Kepha said to him, Master, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yeshua said to him, He who has had a bath does not need to wash except his feet, but is clean altogether. And you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would deliver him up, so he said, You are not all clean. So when he had washed their feet, and taken his garments, and sat down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and master, and you say well, for I am. Then if I, master and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example, that you should do as I have done unto you. Truly, truly, I say unto you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is an emissary greater than he who sent him. If you know these teachings, blessed are you if you do them. I do not speak concerning all of you. I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture might be filled, he who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I say to you, before it takes place, that when it does take place, you shall believe that I am.